Hi, and welcome to the Diamond Report for Sunday, May 21st, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 11:03 p.m. We're looking at Earthquake 3D, the last 48 hours worth of earthquakes globally. We have a new swarm developing in Skagway, Alaska. 2s, 3s, and 4s. The reason I know they're new is because, and you may already know this, but the lighter the ring color is, the newer the quake. So the white, lighter colored rings are the newest quakes, and the darker rings are the older quakes. Now, it's still only the last 48 hours that we're looking at, so it's not really all that old. If I drop this slider down here, you'll see the darker colors show up. Now we're looking at the last week's worth of earthquakes globally, so that's why you have the dark reds on there now. So going back to the last 48 hours, and the reason I look at 48 hours is because if I do that, it's easier to see the silent zones and where movement will likely occur over the last 48 hours. That's why I usually do these earthquake updates looking at the last 48 hours. Last night I mentioned that there was a 3.4 magnitude quake in Kansas. You'll see that on the map here. And we also had a magnitude 3.5 near San Francisco as well. And that's probably the biggest West Coast quake that we've seen in the last few days. We had a 4-point-something off the coast a few days ago as well. We also had a magnitude 4.6 near Greenland, which is a little unusual. And then down here we've got movement in Peru, as I mentioned we would see last night in last night's earthquake update. And actually quite a bit more movement in South America. And of course the deep quake in Mexico, and then also the deep quake in the Philippines, which is right there, right here, this sort of peach colored ring, or pink. That's the one that we're going to continue to watch. Haven't seen any larger, shallower movement off of that magnitude 6.0. It says 5.9, but it's basically a 6.0. I just kind of round it off just slightly when I'm talking because it's easier for me to remember it. But magnitude 6.0 at that depth will likely translate into a larger, shallower quake at some point in the next 10 days or so. Probably a week to 10 days. Now what could happen is, based on this deep quake, larger, shallower movement, you usually add 1 magnitude, sometimes 2. So you'd be looking at, instead of a 6, it'd be more like a 7 or an 8 in a silent zone that is adjacent to where this quake in the Philippines is. What could happen though is it could break out into a swarm. So instead of seeing a 7, for instance, you could see 10 6s across this area over a week's time, or over 10 days time. We haven't really seen any of that yet. We do have a 5.2 out here on the Solomon Islands area and the eastern Papua New Guinea. That's an area that moves a lot, and a 5.2 is not a huge quake by any stretch, but that's definitely one that would be considered normal movement, at least in my opinion. 4.2 on New Zealand. That one's pretty decent size for New Zealand. Usually it's 2s and 3s, swarms of 2s and 3s. And then, let's see, we haven't really looked at Europe or the Middle East too closely lately. So we've got quite a few 2s and 3s again, and then a few 4s in there as well. And that movement in Europe comes from east of there in the Middle East, and the movement in the Middle East comes from Asia, and the movement in Asia comes from Indonesia and the Western Pacific. It goes from the West Pacific westward when it goes across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, but also that same pressure transfers not only that direction, but it also transfers toward the U.S. and also towards South America across the Pacific. So we see it go from the Western Pacific eastward. So the pressure transfers in both directions. So then when you have a large quake, you can get multiple places that move off of the pressure that's being generated from that large quake. Anyway, that's all I had for today's earthquake update. Let's move on to the headlines. I've added a few new articles on lostartsradio.com. If you go there and you click on articles or news, you'll get this page that has the headlines. And here are the articles that I added. And Richard, the host of Lost Arts Radio, sends these to me, and I add them once or twice a week. It just depends on how often he sends them. But they're from other sources, and the sources are listed here. Like this one's from Vaccine Impact. Dr. Brownstein, does Somali measles outbreak in Minnesota prove need for more vaccines? Of course, the FDA would say yes, of course it does. But people that know what vaccines are and the fact that they're tools of eugenesis would definitely argue with you about that one. I personally think vaccines are a 200-year-old scam. FDA now working directly for Monsanto. That's from Healthy Lifestyle Arena. How your tax dollars are used to promote corporate propaganda. That's on Mercola.com. From Natural News, Massachusetts Attorney General says it's okay for mainstream media to publish death threats against anti-vaxxers. I've mentioned this article and that information multiple times in different places, Facebook and so forth. And another Natural News article, Boston rally this Thursday, that was last Thursday, to target the Boston Herald for stating that vaccine skeptics should all be hanged to death. And if you need a little reminder of what that looks like, there you go. This is what the Boston Herald just said should happen to anti-vaxxers, many of whom happen to be African American or Somalian. Okay? Gives you a little more perspective on what that was like. Just a tiny bit. I mean, I couldn't imagine the horror of being hanged. But obviously, the Boston Herald has no problem saying that people like me, and most likely people like you who are listening to this show, should just be hanged because they can't deal with the truth. And then we had the article about the Azure organic farm, and we did the brand new Lost Arts Radio show that aired tonight about that specific farm and what's going on there with them wanting to basically spray the place with poisons like glyphosate and so forth. If you go to, now that the show's aired, if you go to our upcoming show page, you can go here and either click this article title, or you can just scroll down here to archive of the show and listen to the show. You can also pick it up on the YouTube channel. It's on my YouTube channel, and it's also on the Lost Arts Radio YouTube channel. You can get there by clicking this little icon, and it will be the newest, obviously the newest show that's aired. And then also we archive the Saturday show that we do too. We do 2 shows a week, Saturday night and Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. The Saturday night show is a live call-in show, and the Sunday night show is a show with guests. So we've been doing Lost Arts Radio for, let's see, we started in January of 2015, so well over 2 years at this point, almost 2.5. So anyway, that's all I had on Lost Arts Radio. Let's move on to some more headlines. 10 crazy conspiracy theories that became conspiracy facts. That's on Zero Hedge. You know, I don't call them conspiracy theories, and I guess there are conspiracy theories for sure that are fake, but so many of them are real once you really start looking into it and digging into the truth. But when people call me a conspiracy theorist, I always correct them and say, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a conspiracy analyst. And that's a huge difference. North Korea launches another ballistic missile. They just keep on going for it, don't they? And I totally agree with this headline. This makes me want to puke. Trump loyalist Roger Stone slammed the president, who I might add is a very good friend of his, for accepting the highest civilian honor from enemy Saudi Arabia after they financed 9/11. Roger Stone is a very good man. I think he's a very honest person, And he has been friends with Trump for a very long time. And he's firmly in Trump's corner, but he's calling Trump on this total nonsense. And so am I. It's a joke. Bowing and taking any kind of honor from the Saudis should be a put down, and you should refuse the award. Those people quarterback 9/11. And then they have Toby Keith going out there and performing for the Saudis. I mean, how brainwashed can you get? Come on, people, wake up. North Korea's cyber army, hacking cells made up of computer whizzes plucked from schools, travel the globe to launch attacks for Kim Jong-un. North Korean missile falls 250 miles away from Japan's western Shimane Prefecture. That's on Sputnik News. Man behind Times Square rampage claims he tried to get mental help and can't remember the attack. That's on RT. Texas Congressman threatened with lynching after calling for Trump's impeachment. That's on RT. He must also be an anti-vaxxer if they're going to lynch him. The end is near? Why President Trump's impeachment is, quote, unlikely. That's on Sputnik News. I disagree with that headline. I think it's very likely they're going to try and impeach him, even if they just make stuff up. Oh, wait a minute. They're already just making stuff up. Producer claims satanic pedophile ring controls Hollywood. I think that's been stated many, many times at this point. And I mean, from everything that I can see, that I've looked at and read and studied and watched, and I lived in Hollywood for several years. Well, I didn't live there. I worked there for a number of years at a recording studio. From everything I witnessed, I think that's true. John Podesta illegally accepted $35 million from Russia. Seth Rich was with bar manager tied to Obama before his death. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Your soul will be fully condemned. Trump's Saudi speech warns terrorists their days are numbered as he implores Arab leaders to stamp out Islamist terror groups and drive them out of your places of worship. I don't think Trump understands Islam. I really don't. Mass nationwide anti-Trump riots planned for July 2nd. I also saw a date of July 4th. I'm sure they'll get them started as soon as they possibly can, fit it into their schedules. Obama holdouts in Trump administration hiding Hillary emails for years. It's on Daily Caller. Austrian town won't accept any more refugees after girl is raped. It's on Daily Caller as well. I mentioned that a couple days ago. Photo, Nancy Pelosi pictured laughing as California Democrats chant F Donald Trump. Gateway pundit, super classy. Yes, it is. Nancy Pelosi is super, super classy, isn't she? Boom. Newt Gingrich drops Seth Rich bombshell. DNC operative was behind WikiLeaks' DNC email release. It's on Gateway Pundit. That is absolutely true, but it's also absolutely not new information. I think we all know that by now. Trump to 50 Muslim leaders, drive out the terrorists, drive them out, drive them out. That's on Gateway Pundit. Again, just saying that kind of stuff tells me he has no idea how Islam works and what it's about and who really runs the show. The people who are nonviolent Muslims are what would be considered heretics. They're not following the actual scriptures, because if they were, they would be doing what ISIS is doing. The people who are in ISIS are the true Muhammad-following, scripture-following Muslims. They just are. And they're doing what Muhammad wants Muslims to do. And that is kill the kafirs. Do away with anyone and everyone who has anything bad to say or won't convert to Islam. EU humiliation as new military headquarters branded little more than a call center. So that's the Brussels new military headquarters. I mentioned that yesterday, I think it was. That's on the Express. I watched this earlier. Horror moment, sea lion drags young girl from pier and underwater. Caught on camera. It was pretty incredible. I think it could just been a fluke type of thing. However, The animals who live in the oceans are all starving to death and dying because the food chain is totally collapsing across the world, across all oceans. And of course, how the oceans go, so do we. North Korea's missiles can hit U.S., new tests reveal, as Hwasong-12 branded success. Iran uses September 11 to stir up trouble between Trump and Saudi Arabia. Well, just based on that headline, I would say good. Main news from the roller coaster weekend: Trump, North Korea, Brazil, and Brexit. That's on Zero Hedge. From Greg Hunter on USA Watchdog: Trump patriot for blocking Washington criminals from presidency. Warren Pollock: we don't live in a democratic system. These parties are just part of a large system of organized crime. Yes, they are. Expect no mercy. North Korea warns U.S. its nuclear arsenal cannot be stopped. Question is, did they really say that, or are we just told that they said that? The everything bubble. Code red. Sick. Gloria Steinem says that allowing a human child to be born instead of murdering it will cause global warming. That's on Natural News. Of course, global warming is real, and it's already out of control, but it's not because of kids being born. It's because of geoengineering, primarily. Silly Americans mock Venezuela's 99.5% currency collapse, thinking it can't happen here. That's on Natural News. Speaking of Toby Keith, country singer with most famous 9/11 song, now playing for the country that was behind 9/11. What a freaking dork. I live in Nashville, which is Country Music USA, and I know Toby has offices in Nashville. Part of it makes me want to take a sign down there and protest. WannaCry cyber attack, deep state assault on cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I think that is part of what it was, an assault on Bitcoin in particular. How presidential scandal endangers global stability. That's on Zero Hedge. Ebola-like health fears in, however you say that, Huang? The latest. CNN News Flash. CIA asset Anderson Cooper inadvertently confirms Trump's innocence in Russiagate story. Pence betrays Trump, commits perjury, and joins the deep state. I'll tell you what, I do not like that guy Pence. I think he's a globalist, and I think he's absolutely going to be president once Trump's out. That's Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show on the original story there. Hedge fund CIO, on Thursday we got a glimpse of what a big political crisis looks like. That's on Zero Hedge. China's plan for New World Order. What role does it leave to Russia? That's on Sputnik News. And from Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show, is it time to tar and feather the minions of the deep state? Deep state, if you don't know what that is, of course, is the new slang term for the New World Order. It's kind of the same thing. Military-industrial complex is a slightly different thing, but not a lot. And a Lisa Haven report, attention, deep state chat log intercepted. What's on it is even more terrifying. Highly recommended. Lisa's great. North Korea missile passes re-entry test in breakthrough for nuclear program. That's on the Telegraph. Don't you like it how we've been told all along how North Korea's nuclear program and their technology is like terrible, and they're back in the 50s or 60s or whatever, and now all of a sudden they've got missile tests that are working, and they've got a nuclear program, and now they can strike the U.S. and all this stuff. It's done a total 180 just in the last few days or weeks now. Now we're supposed to really be afraid of North Korea. Well, I'm not afraid of North Korea. I don't know about you. I do think Kim Jong-un is off his rocker. There's no question. That's why I call him Crazy Kim. However, that does not mean I think we should go nuke them and start a war. And I know people that I highly respect are saying that we should absolutely do that. One of those people is Judicial Watch's Larry Clayman. He is saying that we should go do a preemptive strike on North Korea to save the U.S. from being nuked. I think that's absolutely the wrong thing to do on so many levels. Christians must reject tepid Christianity as scorching paganism gives rise to Tom Horn's blood on the altar vision. It's on Skywatch TV. Giant alien megastructures built by an advanced civilization could be orbiting dozens of nearby stars. It's on Fox News. Some more alien stories as we inch toward disclosure. Nick Pope on Earth's chance of surviving a Cloud Eater's invasion. However, there are some real-life contingency plans for encountering aliens. It's on Skywatch TV. Again, more aliens, more disclosure. We're inching every bit, every day. It seems like we're getting a little closer. And of course, when that happens, it's all going to be totally fake, a total fraud, total nonsense. The pressure on Trump became so strong and so single-minded in the liberal media that Trump began a significant tactical shift in foreign policy. That's on Survival Online 101. Does that significant tactical shift include going to Saudi Arabia and also signing an arms deal with them for hundreds of billions of dollars? Is that the shift? Because if it is, I don't like it. Babies from skin cells, endangered embryos for cloning oneself, designer same-sex children, and other unsettling nephiliminoids on near horizon are upsetting some experts. Well, how about that? Now they're upset. What are we going to do? That's on Skywatch TV. No, what this is a return to the days of Noah, just as Jesus said would happen, little by little, inside the digital heist that terrorized the world and only made $100,000. So all that for $100K. Wow. State of emergency is declared on Greek island, battling a plague of locusts on a biblical scale. I posted this to my Facebook page. That's on thebigwobble.org. You can find me on Facebook at Diamond Disc, DIAMONDISC. Look me up on there. Send me a friend request. I don't do my posts as public. They're generally just to friends. But, of course, I've got like maybe, 3,500 of them or so. For the first time, physicists have observed a giant magnetic bridge between galaxies. That's on ScienceAlert.com. That sounds exactly like what Anthony Patch talks about with the electric universe. That space is not a vacuum, but it's actually plasma. It's probably not a magnetic bridge. It's probably more like plasma or electrical versus magnetism or gravitational. That's my guess. Yemen cholera cases could hit 300,000 within 6 months, according to the World Health Organization. Muslim psychiatrist slams Islamists and leftists for downplaying horror of female genital mutilation, accuses fellow Muslims of defending barbaric Islamic rituals. Well, again, they're just following what Muhammad and Islam actually teaches. This psychiatrist is clearly not a practicing, devoted to Muhammad type of Muslim. He's most likely a heretic because he's not running around killing people. That's what Muhammad wanted. Mainstream media attempts to kill murdered DNC staffer story and instead blows up the internet. It's on All News Pipeline. That sounds like the Streisand effect to me. Trump calls for stamping out extremism in speech to Muslim leaders. This is a battle between good and evil. Yeah, well, Islam is evil. And you're not going to stamp out that kind of evil. Not in this lifetime anyways. Again, I don't think he totally understands Islam and where its true foundations lie. Far-left parties teeter on irrelevance in Europe. Die-hard left-wing candidates are not winning elections. That's on the Hill. I would say except for in France. They certainly did in France. Macron is a die-hard left-wing candidate, last time I checked. He's a globalist and a member of the system. Republicans fearing for their safety as anger and threats mount. In the last few weeks alone, numerous Republicans have had their lives threatened. That's on the Hill. And on thelibertybeacon.com, measles 1950s style. Richard Sachs on Lost Arts Radio often talks about this. Seek them out, have them become immune. No death watch, just a spotty kid. That's exactly right. The measles will not kill you, but the vaccine might very well. The real Monopoly game, this one not sold by Parker Brothers. This is about the Federal Reserve. This is a stingray. So is this, pointing at this antenna. The Russian obsession. Donald Trump, Seth Rich, and the DC gangster culture. The sheer abuse of our language by the globalists. That's right, they want to own language and therefore own thought. Natural prescriptions, Big Pharma hates it. Danger, shocking reasons why countries are banning microwave ovens. I wish they'd ban actual microwaves, though, from all the cell phone antennas. And, of course, if they did that and they put up 5G everywhere, the phones would still work because they use millimeter waves, not microwaves. POTUS, $350 billion arms deal. There he is, signing that ridiculous agreement that I mentioned a little while ago. I mean, how stupid is this? Why do we even deal with Saudi Arabia? Oh yeah, it's because of oil. The age of applied social ignorance. Read vaccine inserts. That is a really great thing to do. If you've never done it, it will shock you. That's it for today's Diamond Report. Thanks for listening and watching and for sharing and for subscribing. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, gab.ai, and scene.life. I've also got a presence on LinkedIn and Twitter, but I use that for my music business stuff that I do day to day, not really for awareness stuff. So you can definitely look me up on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. I'm listed as Diamond Disc or maybe just under my name on LinkedIn. I forget. But anyway, thanks for listening and watching. I'll see you tomorrow.